It's usually hello, and I'm not really in the mood today because I've got an incredibly bad back and I'm on painkillers. But on top of all that, I found my first grey pubic hair today. And usually I wouldn't mind, but it was in the sandwich that I just ordered. Today, look at the return of Joe Cumia. We're talking about the double standards in TV when it comes to political comedy. We're crowbarring in my Andrew Dice Clay impression, and then we're talking U2 again. And then later on, we've got TV presenter, radio host, podcaster, film critic, chef, superhero. Jamie East is on. He's on to talk about the state of reality TV in the UK, what it's like to be a film critic, and whatever the fuck's going on with Westworld. So here we go, Joe. Hello. So hey, Joe, thanks for coming back on.
No worries, man.
And I was just thinking about the other way we've been talking about Andrew Dice Clay. Well, he didn't make a film for 12 years. And then when he did make a film, you know what the initials were? BJ.
Blue Jasmine.
Yeah. BJ. Oh!
Ah, holy shit. That's funny. It's funny as hell to hear you knock off that accent, man.
It's this fucking over here. He gets rid of this he's over there banging some shit. She's a or whatever, and he goes, "Hey, Woody Allen," and I just, "Hey, Dice, do you want some BJ?" And I just, "Get the fuck out of
here!" Holy shit, man! Wow, that's uncanny.
I can do
it's uncanny.
Hey, thanks. Hey, that's what she said.
The first time I ever saw Dice was when he was personally interacting with my brother when he was on the show, and they were arguing with each other, and Dice turns around and he goes, "I don't want to argue with me." He was so fucking. The guy was so fucking good. And Anthony he told a couple of stories about when they went out to dinner with, it was like Club Soda Kenny and Dice and Jimmy when he first started, getting to know Andrew. And he said the guy was like, he ordered a steak and a steak came out like a little too well done. And Dice just like, he put on that laugh, that half smile laugh that he does. He goes, honey, come over here. Come over here. And he says to the waitress, he goes, "What the fuck didn't you understand about a rare steak?" I don't do a very good Dice, but it was fucking hysterical the way he said he was so fucking embarrassed. Anthony was like turning red at the shit Dice was saying to this poor waitress who didn't get his steak order correct.
This is, "Yo, Anthony, your face is redder than the panties on the hood that I fucked last night." It's hard to stop doing that. You go,
I know, it really is. We got really lucky. We got to meet the guy and hang out with him at Anthony's house. Actually, it was one of Ant's first guests when he was doing Live from the Compound, and it was hysterical to hang out with Dice because the guy doesn't drink. He doesn't drink at all, and he drank wine with Anthony. Anthony has this effect on people. I don't know exactly how he does it, but if you hang out at the compound, you tend to drink a little bit. And he drank wine, and I've never seen Dice that vulnerable. That's the only way I could really describe. He was vulnerable. He was drunk, but he was getting up and doing karaoke completely. I mean, if he ever had any inhibitions, he definitely lost all of them after he had a few glasses of red wine. And his kids were there; they're musicians, so we got to jam a little bit. And he sang. He was singing "Grease Lightning" from Grease. It's just watching Andrew Dice Clay sing karaoke "Grease Lightning" in my brother's basement. That sounds like a weird dream, doesn't it?
But the thing is, I love the fact that he's been in character for so long that he can't get out of it.
It's not even character. I don't think it's character anymore. It's what you see on that show the Showtime series that he had, which was brilliant. In my opinion, it was probably some of his best work ever. Wasn't really work. That's him. That was the way, that's the way he interacts with people. And and the way he is, in life. It's just it kind of sucks that show was canceled. I mean, after a couple of seasons, it was probably his best work, most entertaining. I mean, it was funny as hell, and it's him. It's just his persona, put straight across to tape.
But the word I heard was that Dice actually quit the show instead of it being cancelled.
Yeah, it was probably well, I said cancel. I just mean it's not going on anymore. But yeah, he tends to shoot himself in the foot quite a bit.
Why would I want to keep it after I fucked it? Do you want to hear Norm Macdonald doing an Andrew Dice Clay bit?
I've never seen it. No.
He goes in, hey, so I stuck my tongue up this chick's ass, and she's looking at me like, hey, do I know you? And I go, shit. Hey, honey, you know how boring it is when you're at line at the bank? Oh!
That is a damn good Norm Macdonald, man.
Speaking of comedy that isn't funny, I want to talk to you about the rise of the fucking outbreak, I should say, of the liberal comedy, the liberal comedy political shows like the Daily Show and the John Oliver shit and
yeah.
But the thing about it that scares me is that the Democratic or the left-leaning political people, they don't understand that these shows are only around for a ratings ploy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't actually believe that shit. The TV host, this is what makes people watch.
Well, I saw for the first time in decades, probably. I saw a clip from Saturday Night Live. I just they became unfunny years ago, and it was the clip of Matt Damon doing Brett Kavanaugh at his hearing, and the extreme to which Matt Damon took the caricature of Brett Kavanaugh was fucking hilarious. I never laughed so goddamn hard. See, that's the thing. Some people can't separate comedy from their politics. So I know a lot of guys, especially like musician friends of mine that are a little right-leaning, that won't watch anything that goofs on the right at all. I mean, anything is unfunny. It's not, and that's never been the way. I've never been that way with any kind of comedy. If I don't like it, I don't like it. I shut it off. But you have to go bit by bit. This thing that Matt Damon did on Brett Kavanaugh was fucking hysterical. Just the way he was like gulping down water, like it was pouring down his face, and he was like, he's like, he comes out. Have you seen the clip yet?
No, I haven't watched Saturday Night Live clips on purpose. And
Google Matt Damon. Look on YouTube, Matt Damon, Brett Kavanaugh. That's all you have to put in. And the guy's like, Damon comes out and he goes, he's sniffing real hard, and he goes, he sits down as Brett Kavanaugh. They have the whole the set it's set up like like Congress, and senators are all they have all the people playing different senators, and sits down, and he goes, all right, I'm going to start it at 11, and then I'm going to bring it to a 15 real fast. And he's the pissed off Brett Kavanaugh. It was fucking hysterical. Now, if Kavanaugh hadn't gotten in, I probably would hate the fucking clip. I'd hate it. I'd hate the bit. I'd hate everything about Saturday Night Live. I'd be tweeting how shitty Saturday Night Live is. But, the fact is it's comedy. And it was fucking funny. It made me laugh. A lot of people can't laugh at things that they don't agree with. And to find the humor in something that you don't agree with, that's where these shows get their popularity from. There are a lot of people on the right that absolutely can't stand John Oliver, can't stand Bill Maher, can't stand any of those guys that have tremendous shows that'll watch it because to me the right thinks a little more rationally. You know what I mean? If it makes you laugh, it makes you laugh. It doesn't have anything to do with real life. It's not affecting anyone's real life, these shows, except for the liberals and the people that watch it for as a news source rather than as source of entertainment and laughter.
But do you ever get the feeling that, like, did you see the Sacha Baron Cohen show, Who is America or What is America?
I watched a couple of minutes of it. I really didn't know what to make of it. I don't know what to make of it yet.
He is the perfect example of somebody jumping on the bandwagon of being a fake liberal.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. I think he's pandering to both sides with that show. I mean, I think he's, Borat's not probably not paying the bills the way it used to. So he's got something else. And he's always been known to reinvent, and do new shit. So I guess that's one of his, one of his pet projects these days. To be able to go like both ways with it, though, that's the brilliance of Rogan. That I just saw that Joe Rogan thing. He does not pigeonhole himself as a liberal or as a conservative or as left or right or Republican, Democrat, whatever, however you want to divide it. But he never pigeonholes himself. He's a thinking guy, and he he goofs on both sides equally. And at the same time, have you seen his newest Netflix comedy special, Rogan?
No, not yet. No.
Fucking brilliant. Yeah, he calls himself a moron at every turn, but he's constantly outthinking every comic out there. It's amazing the way he turns shit around. He'll he was just on Anthony's show. It's one of the things I just watched a couple of days ago because of seeing it on Ant's show. He was a call-in. He did a call-in, Joe Rogan, a few days ago. But again, he's a guy that plays both sides and does it well. I've been noticing a lot, and this is like a common thread, a common element in just so many newer comedies, dark comedies, whatever you want to call them. Shameless.
Oh yeah.
Okay. It started out here. It was just it was funny. I mean, they had the gay shit in there, and they had it, they would throw in a lot of things that some people might consider to be more left-wing subjects, recently the vagina safe zone in Kevin's bar, and so you're looking at they take on misogyny, they take on racism, where the girl now, Deb, the kid, if she was a kid, the young girl is now a lesbian with a black chick. So it's like what they're doing with all of these sitcoms, and it's pretty much every one of them, is they're taking what were at one point in time controversial subjects, which now have no bearing on anything really, because they're so commonplace, and it's such a common thing to see in everyday life, and they make a huge deal out of it, like it's like what they're doing. It's typical Hollywood. It's typical, pandering to that audience the same way Democrats pander to, minorities and immigrants. It's just it's the way they operate, and it's so unnecessary. It's like, I mean, you can make it funny without having to, shove that little extra. That little extra bit of political correctness, your version of political correctness, down someone's throat. And it's not just with that show. I mean, I've seen it with so many other sitcoms, things that are supposed to be edgy and funny that they're not edgy anymore. It's not cutting edge. It's not, you're not writing any line. It's so what? You're a lesbian. So what? You're in a relationship with someone from of another race or another nationality. So what? There's a guy that's standing up for women's rights. I mean, these are typical everyday things these days. So why make such a big deal about it and make it so controversial on these shows? I don't know.
But do you think that TV's become too obsessed with being liberal? And the reason why I bring that up is, do you happen to watch The Walking Dead?
Well, there's another one. Yeah. that's another. I mean, it's another one doing exactly what I described.
Well, they had the new season started back, and they've got this new head writer. She's this Asian lady, and in an interview she did to promote the new season, all she spoke about was oh, we've got a great diverse range of character, and there's all sorts of sexual representation and
Yeah.
and body confidence. And it's like, it's a fucking zombie program. And the thing,
it's a show about dead people.
yeah, it's like if Dicer's out, you go, hey, shut your fucking mouth and tell me about the monsters over here. But the thing is that she's damaged the show, because I don't know if you've seen the new season, but it's fucking brilliant so far. And
Yeah.
she did herself a disservice and didn't mention the fact that she's this brilliant horror writer that's come up with these really intense storylines. And the TV ratings were the lowest they've ever had for her first episode. And it's like, you did this to yourself.
Yeah, it's the truth, man. The truth. Well, you know, look, it's a show about zombies, but Rick and Michonne sleep together.
Yeah.
Shocking.
So all right, fucker.
Come on, man. It's like, you know, not only that, but I mean, everything about it. And you have the, you know, Carol and Daryl, and Carol didn't want to get married to the king and all, you know. I mean, you know, I don't know. It just seems to be a common thread in almost every type of show, whether it's a, you know, horror drama, horror melodrama. At this point, it's almost a soap opera, you know, or a straight up comedy show, or, you know, or a show like you know, Today, Tomorrow, whatever that is, John Oliver thing. I mean, they all have that in common, trying to make it seem like such a cool movement, and it's really not. Stop making it such a. If you don't make such a big deal out of it, it's not going to be such a big deal. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We need to bring attention to, you know, to the fact that women make less money than men. Oh, yeah, but you know, sitting bitching and complaining about it isn't going to do anything.
Yeah, and go tell that to Oprah Winfrey. She's black and a woman and makes
exactly
over $200 million a year.
Well, like Rogan said, man, he goes, you know, about women. Believe me, I'm paraphrasing it. You really have to see the Strange Times, I think it's called. You really have to see this special. It's amazing. But he says, you know, like women, just, you know, never really invented anything. You know, sorry, but I mean, that's, you know, how it goes. Men are the inventors. They were the people that came. And he goes, it's not about, you know, vagina versus penis or men versus women. It's not about that. Right now, it's about inventors versus us, the morons, you know, like, you know, it's inventors versus us. Most of them are men. Who the hell knows anything other about them other than that they're men? You know, women have invented 40 things, and it's basically things that they needed. You know, anything else that, you know, that were groundbreaking, world-changing inventions were made by men. And then he turns around, he goes, you know, you hear all the women going like, ooh, ooh. And then he turns around and he goes, but women have created every human being on this planet. Every human being on this planet came from a woman. You know, so it's like, he knows how to ride the line. That guy is just fucking brilliant, man. He really is. He knows how to ride that line. A lot of people, they pigeonhole themselves. They put themselves in a corner. They're either one or the other, and not the way to be if you're talking about comedy. Anything that's going to make someone laugh, anything that's going to, you know, that's going to stir someone up in their head a little bit, is generally like both. You have to look at it from both perspectives.
Well, speaking of comedy geniuses, Amy Schumer recently got arrested outside the Kavanaugh trial, and she was arrested with Emily Ratajkowski.
Right.
And I don't know if you could tell a difference between them, but Amy Schumer's the one that isn't funny. She's a hooah.
Amy Schumer is her uncle's, the product of her uncle. I can't stand him. I really can't stand her. And you know why? It's because their mind closed. They don't want to. They don't want to listen. They don't want to hear. It's all about their left-wing uber liberalism that pretty much died with Hillary Clinton's run for president. You know, I mean, that's the truth of it. Yeah, the Schumers are shit, man. You know, I'm concerned. None of them have anything good to say. And good, she got arrested. You know, I mean, that's just for display. I'm sure she didn't spend a second in a jail cell, and she was out before she was in. So
she should have been arrested by the joke police for crimes against Patrice O'Neill.
Crimes against you're being arrested for crimes against funny. Yeah, she is. She's awful. She's all kinds of awful.
But regarding that Kavanaugh trial, see that whole believe women thing, like that's too much, because obviously, like, if he did do the stuff he was accused of, then he's a piece of shit and he should have been fucking dragged to jail. But at the end of the day, prove it.
You know, that's the whole idea behind guilty till proven innocent, or innocent till proven guilty, which they like to make guilty until proven innocent. The you know, it was almost like the burden of proof was on him, you know, where it shouldn't be. You know, the guy's been a man of the law his entire life. I'm sure, you know what? He's probably done some scumbag things. And I'm not talking about crimes against women. I'm talking about, like, you know, putting people away that perhaps should not have been put away. You know, things that go hand in hand with being, you know, that deeply involved with, you know, with the judicial process. So that being said, he should not have been put on trial, which basically he was. If someone's involved, you know, it was a statistic that I read not too long ago that if someone is indeed convicted of some type of sexual harassment, you know, sexual abuse, rape, they generally get in trouble in other areas of their lives. You know what I mean? They've had trouble in other areas of their lives, with the exception of Bill Cosby. What are you going to do? But there are people, but he's the only exception. He's the only one that I know of. So people that have had problems with sexual harassment have been jailed or been arrested for other things, like you know, grand theft auto, shoplifting, you know, larceny, drug, alcohol offenses. But this guy's squeaky fucking clean. He's, you know, Brett Kavanaugh was squeaky clean. The only reason, and obviously the only reason that guy was put on trial like that was to keep him from being on the Supreme Court. Period. Yeah. There's nothing else. And it's so transparent and so obvious that if you don't see it, you're either a moron or a liberal or a combination of the two, which is pretty common. So that's the way, you know, that's the way I saw that entire thing. And then people coming up and saying, you know, he does well now because he tested when he testified. He didn't prove himself to be worthy of the Supreme Court. If fucking Judge Spock, what the fuck was the guy supposed to do? Sit there with no, you know, show no emotion whatsoever? Just be, you know, be Judge Kavanaugh. You know,
I didn't do it.
He's a man. Exactly. I'm telling you, man. I rest my case, and that's it. I didn't do it.
But
my poor kids, my poor wife. Goodbye.
I tell you who is guilty of what they've been accused of and is getting in big trouble. And I have a witness to this sort of shit. Oh, have you ever seen this awful film he made called
I've never seen that one, no.
It's fucking terrible. Well, basically, they filmed that here in Belfast. And there's a girl who used to work with us, was body double for this skinny dipping scene. And she told us that Fro basically said to her, hey, do you want to go out tonight or whatever? And she says, oh no, I can't. And then she said that he was like, why don't you just come back to the hotel for sex? And
I'm telling you, man, you'll hear that more from Hollywood, LA-based shitheads than you'll ever hear from anyone on the other end of the spectrum. I can totally believe that. I've seen it. I've seen it myself, and 99% of the time, it's coming from an actor, a musician, someone having to do with the arts, someone that's that considers themselves to be liberal, because I mean, it's just the way they think, and then they'll turn around and they'll try to execute this a guy like Kavanaugh strictly on on agenda-based ideas. I mean, that's period. There was a guy, real quick. There was a guy that used to come down and jam all the time with my brother and I at a place called Bar 9, and he was a famous dude. And no, it wasn't Adam Ferrara. It wasn't people. I know some people are going to be like, "Oh, I know who it was." No, you don't. You definitely don't know who it was. But there was a girl who was a huge fan of this. I could say it's a guy in movies, and
Eddie Murphy,
huge fan. Eddie Murphy. Now there was a guy in movies that used to come down and play with us all the time, acoustic gigs. And what happened was he popped this question to this girl. It was like, basically, hey, well, how about a blowjob? And she was like, she was absolutely smitten with this guy. She was a huge fan of his, through a bunch of movies and for years and years. And she finally gets to meet him. And what's the first thing this guy says to her? I guess he smelled the blood in the water. I mean, she's that much of a fan and that willing to, give him a big hug and a kiss. Well, you want to give me a blowjob too, I mean, that's if you want to talk about people getting popped for for things that they do or in their past, that's pretty damn legitimate, unless you're absolutely sure that you're playing with the girl and she's said some dicey things to you.
Suck my dick, honey.
Yeah, pretty much.
But here's
the
thing.
It wasn't dicey.
If we're to believe women, shouldn't Bill Clinton be shitting himself right now?
Yeah. Believe women, but only if you're not a liberal Democrat.
Yeah.
Believe the women who accuse even moderate conservatives or Republicans. Then believe the women.
Hillary Clinton is considered a feminist icon, considering she's fucking she's married to a man who's got a history of and affairs.
Oh yeah. Monica Bluklinski.
Hey, would you?
Would you? Now put the fucking dog in the basket. Put the fucking precious in the basket.
Maybe back in the day, fucker.
Yeah, it's definitely a one-sided coin. They don't like to look at both sides of the story. It's becoming more and more apparent too. I mean, just throughout society. I mean, people are seeing more and more of this. He's talking about this November, the midterm elections. You watch, man. I said this to a lot of doubting Thomases throughout the past few months. The past few weeks about Kavanaugh. I said, don't worry about it. He's going to get in. He will get in. He'll definitely be on the Supreme Court. And I'm saying again regarding the midterms that there's going to be the biggest fucking turnover you've ever seen in your life. You know why? I completely honest and open. I never voted before 2016, and I was 57 at the time. Never voted, not a day in my life. I never even voted for goddamn homecoming king and queen in school because I didn't want to be responsible for the outcome. And the same I felt for government, any type of government positions. So I never voted. In 2016, I got so wrapped up in things that were going bad and things that could be improved upon. And I really, I started looking at what was going on, blind eye. And that was what convinced me to get my ass out, register, and vote in 2016. Now, okay, it wasn't the popular vote. It was the electoral vote that put him in, blah, 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 blah. But more people became aware, woke up in 2016, more moderate conservatives and even Democrats that did not believe in their party anymore, that weren't going to vote on party, just strictly on party lines anymore, that woke up and got out and they mobilized. They voted for Trump. He had tremendous rallies all over the place. The same exact thing. It was called the super vote. They called it the super vote. And no one knew it was coming. The polls were all wrong. The media was fucking jerking themselves off as usual. And what happened? Well, we see what happened. We see the same thing's going to happen in 2020. And in 2018, the midterms, you're going to see a tremendous, and you can isolate this clip, the tremendous turnover in Congress and the Senate is going to completely turn over. House and the Senate are going to completely turn over. Watch. Because I'm voting. I didn't even know what a midterm was up until this year because I never voted for president. And I could give a shit. I couldn't care. Now it's a little different. And I'm a barometer of sorts. There are millions more just like me. There are millions and millions more. So it's going to have an effect. You watch, man. Red wave.
You know, the one thing I can't wait for the midterm elections to come up is because when Trump is campaigning, have you noticed every time before he goes to say somebody's name, he takes a second to remember what their name is? He goes, "Listen, I just want to say it's very nice to meet you, Joe."
He's reading off the teleprompter, man.
You wouldn't believe the cleaning I had to do after that goddamn Obama.
Obama.
Obama. He's
the hand.
So
this is a racist thing too, right?
Everything. So I had my tongue up this chick's and she's looking at me like, "Do I know
Andrew Dice Trump?
Making who is hot again, honey." And since the last time we spoke, Joe, and it's just this will be the last question before I wrap up and I go have my curry. Have you heard that U2 have changed up their set list on the tour and started adding in more of the classics from the 80s and 90s?
Well, that's a business move, part business move and part possibly Bono saving his voice move, because he lost his voice completely. So yeah, I could see how that would be advantageous for Bono, at least, because a lot of the older songs, they drop key. So which means instead of him singing it up here, he's singing it down here, which, as long as the whole band is playing it that way, no one really knows the difference. No one can really, unless you're a musician, you can't hear the difference between keys. But basically, that's pretty much what they did. They started adding in more of the classics for that, and possibly to bolster ticket sales. There may not be as many people willing to go see them play all new stuff. Might be time for reinventing to be over. Might be end time for reinventing for you too.
Yeah, they've added in Zoo Station, Who's Gonna Ride Your Wild Horses, and do you remember the song Stay Far Away, So Close?
Yep, Stay. Yeah, we do. I do both of those actually. Yeah, you're gonna be. Are you gonna be making an appearance over at Compound Media or what?
Well, I'm very busy these days, and I've got to bang all these.
I'm actually stopping in to see my brother on Friday. We're playing poker. We got a game going. You got to get your ass over to the States one of these days, man. Stop up there and hang out.
I'd love that, but you got to tell Anthony that I want him for a dice off.
A dice off. You got it, man.
He's got nothing.
It's Andrew McDice Clay.
Andrew Dice Clay over here. So it had me tongue up this chick's arse. Jamie, hello. Okay, so Jamie, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
And I'd just like to start by apologising to you.
Okay.
Because and I can try better, and I'll never do it again. And I think I speak on behalf of the public that you're a film critic, and the fact that you had to watch Venom, I'm so sorry, and I'll never do that again.
Oh, mate, I took one for the team. You know, it's not a particularly difficult job to do, but sometimes you do have to kind of subject yourself to some pretty grim sights, and that was one of them.
That was the first time, like, I'm a big comic book fan, and that was the first time I actually get angry at a film. I was actually sitting there going, it's like, it turned me into Alan Partridge talking about James Bond. It's like, oh, stop getting Venom wrong.
Yeah, it was just weird. It was just kind of like, yeah, I don't know whether they were trying to turn him into a hero, but you know, they couldn't work out whether he was supposed to be nice or bad. You know, it was kind of weird. It was a mess, a hot mess of a film.
To me, the one way they could have saved that film was, do you remember the scene at the end when Venom saved the what do you call it, like a corner shop lady from being
yeah.
If they'd have had Venom kill the thug, but then turn around and kill the woman as well, that's how you would end.
Or at least even just showing a bit of blood. He bit off his head and there was no blood. It was just, you know, stuff like that just winds me up.
Exactly. But as we say, Jamie, you run the Reality Check website as well. And fairly recently, would you think it's fair to say that in the history of the dickheads on reality TV, that this Roxanne Pallet thing is possibly the darkest moment in reality TV history?
It's up there. I wouldn't say it was the darkest. I mean, the Shilpa Shetty, Jay Goody one was pretty dark for kind of, I guess, different reasons. But I think the Roxanne and Ryan thing was kind of interesting because it raised a lot of interesting points for me. Whereas, okay, I wasn't quite sure after a while what we were expecting people to be doing. What were we expecting her to do? Because there came a point where, you know, she'd got booted out, or she'd left. She lost her job. She lost most of her jobs. She lost everything really. Her career is in tatters, and yet still we were baying for blood. And I wasn't quite sure what the end game was supposed to be for the public. And a lot of people are like, no, she deserves it, all she gets. And it's like, well, what does she deserve? Does she deserve to be driven to harming herself? I wasn't quite sure what the end point was there for a lot of people.
Not that I'm making fun of it, but I think that there's something maybe a bit wrong inside the mind. And
I think you know, from, I mean, I can't, you know, we can't speak on her behalf, but you know, judging by the amount of people that she'd worked with in the past that came forward to speak out in the same saying they'd experienced the same, suggests that there are some kind of deep-rooted issues there that maybe had only just been kind of shown to people.
And I think one of the positives that come out of it, and it sounds like a weird thing to say, but it sort of shows people that not all accusations should be instantly believed without some sort of research or investigation or something.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because I mean, it's a weird environment to be in. It's not a normal environment. You know, you haven't got the ability to kind of go and Google something, or to go and kind of really speak openly or have a private word with someone. It's a tough one. And also they know that they've got the kind of safety net of knowing that whatever has happened will have been filmed. So it is a weird one. But yeah, I mean, the whole, you know, it's such a tricky thing because you want to believe what's right, or what you believe is right. So if someone comes and says that someone has been accused, or someone stands accused of doing something bad, you naturally want to be on the right side of that argument. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And the right side of the argument in that case was to stand up for the lady who had been punched, which is, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But what it does, well, what it clearly did to a lot of people in there was to cloud their judgment, and they made a snap decision rather than getting both sides of the story.
And at the end of the day, no matter what she did, at least she didn't write and direct Venom.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah.
Do you think that and obviously Celebrity Big Brother is ending, Big Brother, I should say, is ending on, Channel 5 soon. Do you think that political correctness ruined Big Brother?
No, I don't think so. It's a tricky one. I don't think it was anything like that. I think it's just tiredness. It's been going, even on Channel 5. It's been God knows, it's been 6-7 years since I was on it, and people were accusing it of being tired back then. So I think it's a case. It's the public's appetite for things wanes, and there's nothing particularly. It's still a really strong civilian Big Brother that's happening now, and there's a particularly strong celebrity that happened with Roxanne and Ryan. But you can only have so much of a good thing, and it just needs to rest. There's nothing inherently wrong with the format or with the casting. It's just that we haven't had a chance to miss it.
And it's a shame that the current final season is so good, because it seems to be going out on not in a whimper, but
Yeah, but I mean, imagine what it was like if it had been absolutely crap. Though it would have been. It may never have come back. Yeah,
yeah.
At least its lasting memories in the people that supported it have been that it went out on a high, and it went out pretty much getting back to the roots of what Big Brother was all about.
And I think when it does come back, there's got to be something done. And I'm not saying to make it all fixed and rigged like Love Island, but the fact that the interesting characters always go out first is infuriating, and then it just gets stuck into this routine of boring showmances.
Yeah, I think one of the controversial decisions that they made, and they haven't reverted back to, is the vote to save or the vote to evict. That's been one of the problems. But also, you've got to remember that the voting public are generally idiots, and there will always, it's usually just younger women that phone in to vote. The kind of demographic is that, whether it's X Factor or Big Brother or the Jungle or whatever it is, you don't get blokes phoning in to vote. It just generally doesn't happen as much as it does for younger girls. So what that means is that generally, if you're a good-looking kind of nice guy, you'll always do well. And Ryan's a good example of that. And throughout, there aren't many female winners. I mean, Sarah Harding's a kind of an anomaly there, but generally that's how it works. So and they're less forgiving, I think, in terms of people who are irritating or kind of interesting to watch. And you can go as far as saying The Apprentice that aired on Wednesday. Immediately, someone who was irritating yet quite interesting and annoying to other contestants got fired straight away. So it's something that's inherent throughout kind of reality shows like that, and it's a problem. But I don't know quite how you solve that one.
But I have a feeling that Big Brother will be back. As you say, I'd say give it 2-3 years. Nothing ever goes away.
No, wait. I think 2 or 3 years is quite a long time. I think it'll be back before then. I think it's likely to come back online. I think Facebook or YouTube will buy it.
And plus, that means they could bring back the live streaming. The people
bring back the live feed.
So, what do you think's more likely to happen? Big Brother comes back or Venom 2?
Big Brother coming back easy.
And just a few more reality TV questions. Do you find it weird that Strictly Come Dancing is called a reality show? Because it's literally staged.
Yeah, it's reality in terms of, I guess it's just got a voting mechanism in there, but even that's slightly convoluted and kind of half removed from the control of the public. I don't know. I think it's reality in terms of you're following people on a journey, and that's real. And you can't make a shit dancer a good dancer, I don't think. But it's yeah, I mean, it's more light entertainment. It was always, you know, in its previous iterations when it was strictly ballroom or whatever it used to be with Brucey back in the day. Without it, that all they've done is modernize it with the voting mechanism to appeal to a younger audience. So yeah, I get your point.
Can you bring yourself to watch X on the Beach?
No. Life's too short, mate. Netflix is here now. I don't need it.
Yeah. And also, Jimmy, as well as your reality TV podcast, you're also, as we say, a film critic. So let me ask you this. Are you still able to watch films and enjoy it? Or do you watch them with the critical eye?
You know, whenever I watch a film for the first time, it's usually because I've got to review it or critique it. So that's always, I'm always at work then. But when I go back and if I sit and watch a film with my family or something like that, that I've, you know, I can kind of sit back and just enjoy it. And because I'm not one of these, I'm not a critic that can just sit, watch a film, remember everything I've thought about it, and then go and sit down and write it. I have to write notes all the way through, otherwise I'll just forget because that's just not how my brain works. So I usually the first time I'm watching a film, I'm sitting down and writing notes throughout it and scribbling little things that I remember or little kind of points. So I get to enjoy the film as much as anyone would had they got a notepad in front of them. But then when I go back and watch it again, I can sit back and either enjoy it or hate it even more. Yeah,
because for me, oh, look at that lovely smile there. But for me, because my job, I'm an editor, so pretty much every time I'm watching TV or film, I'm always going, continuity error, shouldn't have cut there, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the same for any profession. If you're a tiler and you go around to someone else's bathroom and you see some really shit grouting, then you know that's going to drive you mad. You know.
There you go. I don't know about this, love. You get fucking up, darling.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking still about films, do you feel like that summer blockbusters are actually getting better while the Oscar season films are kind of getting worse?
I think the difficulty is that the blockbuster season's kind of all year now. You know, there's now three big movie windows for blockbusters. There's summer and there's Christmas, but now there's this Easter kind of thing that started creeping in as well, which is more to do with the fact that Marvel have just got so many movies to release. But have Oscar films got worse? I don't know about that. I mean, I'm thinking back to the Oscar season just gone, and we had kind of 3 billboards. We had I, Tonya, we had The Phantom Thread, we had, you know, All the Money in the World. I mean, there were some good films then. And Call Me by Your Name. You know, I don't know about that. I think that this year's been really strong as well in film. I'm doing a talk on Tuesday where there's a similar question asked, and we had to kind of list our favourite films so far of the year. And there were tons. It was really tricky, and a good mix as well. A good mix of kind of like, you know, your Infinity Wars, but then right down to really low budget kind of British films that have been fantastic as well. So you know, it's film to me is in pretty rude health. I don't know what will happen post Avengers 4. That's going to be quite an interesting one.
What did you think of the Meg, the Jason Statham versus a shark film?
It's impossible to critique it because it's just so stupid. But you know, if you go there expecting anything other than what you get, then you're an idiot. You know, it's Jason Statham fighting a shark with bare feet. It's kind of, you know, if you've turned up there expecting Daniel Day-Lewis, then you deserve to be disappointed. You know, I enjoyed it. It was good fun.
Yeah, the thing about Jason Statham, I think he's almost critic proof. Like if you go to see Expendables 4 and go, I didn't think much of that dialogue, you go, well, you're a wanker then.
Well, yeah, you know, I think that's one of the, I guess that's one of the reasons why critics matter, in the sense that, you know, you've got to be able to manage people's expectations in terms of films like that. And you've got to explain that this is one, you know, is this a date movie? Is this one that you're going to cry to? Is this one that's going to be kind of deeply disturbing or what? So, you know, trailers don't always do that. And the movies and the studios will always want to kind of push their film to as many people as possible. It's not their job to kind of narrow their audience. So that's a critic's job, I think. And certainly for the newspaper that I write for, I do my film column for The Sun, and I do talk film the Talk Film podcast is very much for a populist audience. It's a tabloid kind of audience. So, you know, there's no point in me reviewing a Botswanan documentary because my audience just aren't going to be interested in doing that. But if I see, you know, there's a good film called Apostasy a couple of months ago, which was amazing, about Jehovah's Witnesses, very small budget Brit flick, but absolutely fantastic. But so I kind of enjoyed pushing people to that, and also films like Moonlight and stuff like that, where it's not a film that a tabloid audience would generally pick up and go and see. It's about a gay black man. Sorry, my phone's going again. So it's my job to say, give this a try.
Do you think that there's certain films that, and this is not to come across like some right-wing arsehole, but do you think that there's some films that get overly praised for the wrong reasons? And by that I mean, like if you look at Wonder Woman, as a comic book fan, that was a 2 out of 5 at best. But but when that came out, that was treated like it had solved world peace.
Well, I think that film in particular did solve a lot of problems. I think in terms of for there was clearly a bottleneck in terms of what 50% of the world's populations were seeing on screen compared to what happens in the real world, and the fact that there hadn't been a decent female driven superhero film was a problem, and rightly so, and there should have been. And Wonder Woman, what it did was it proved to the studios that to not be scared of allowing that of opening that gate and making sure that Patty Jenkins was rightly kind of applauded for directing a really good film. Now, as a comic book fan, it might not have fulfilled your kind of criteria, but you know, you can guarantee that for a 10-year-old girl who loves Iron Man, who also loves kind of Thor, to finally see someone that they can dress up as without having to kind of draw a beard on or pretend that they've got big muscles was a huge kind of step forward, I think.
But it's just that for me, I don't know if you've seen a film called Atomic Blonde.
Yeah, I've seen Atomic. Yeah,
I thought that was one of the best films of 2017, and the fact that didn't even make a 7th of what Wonder Woman made just baffled me.
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed Atomic Blonde. I think there were a few things wrong with it. I think it kind of hammed up on the, you know, I'm not sure we need another sexy lesbian assassin film anymore. But I think the release of it didn't. I think it was, if I remember rightly, it was kind of bunched in very closely with Baby Driver, and stylistically, in terms of the music and the kind of posters and trailers and stuff, was confusing, and I think it just got buried. It's a shame because I really enjoyed the film, and Charlize Theron was brilliant in it. But you know, it had its fault. It had its flaws as well.
Without giving any spoilers, because I'm dying to see them, have you seen A Star Is Born, Halloween, or Bohemian Rhapsody yet?
I've seen A Star Is Born. Halloween I'm seeing on Tuesday. Bohemian Rhapsody later on next week as well, because I'm interviewing Rami Malek at the end of next week or the week after. Yeah. So Star Is Born is brilliant. Really good. Yeah,
I'm going to go see that possibly Sunday if I'm not too hungover from the McGregor fight.
No, it's well worth seeing. If you want to find out what we think about it, have a listen to the Talk Film podcast.
See, and by the way, I noticed you mentioned on Twitter that you've it's been a year since you gave up drinking. You look way more chiseled in the face.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what no booze and running does for you. Yeah, thanks. It's not science, you know. Well, it is science, but it's, you know, it's as black and white as that.
I only take breaks from drinking because it takes me 4 days to recover. But it's in Ireland. That's like trying to give up the cold in the winter.
Yeah, it's a bit easier in Surrey, but yeah, you know, it's the recovery time was an issue.
And just as we're wrapping up here, Jimmy, you also co-present two TV shows, especially the Westworld After Show, which really can't remember. Can you actually understand Westworld?
Season 2 was a struggle. I'll admit that. I mean, I can. I don't test me on it now. You know, I did at the time and can, but it's it's my job to make it understandable for everybody else. So I get a lot of help with that, because I think the finale of season 2 had something like 15 different timelines in it, and it hurt my head quite a lot. And
Sometimes it's I think it's complicated for the sake of being complicated, and then
I think what they did was they refused to pander to the audience, which I think was quite good in a way. It's kind of like they expect a lot from the audience, where I think a lot of shows where they fail is that they panic that something hasn't been explained enough, or that people aren't going to remember what this character did 8 episodes ago. Or I think Game of Thrones went a long way to kind of changing that. When you've got someone like, spoiler alert, you've got someone like Benjen kind of like reappearing 6 seasons later and it not even being an issue, and people automatically remember it. I think things like that have shown program makers that audiences are intelligent and they do like a bit of a deeper dive into a program. And something like Westworld, you can enjoy Westworld as a glossy kind of sci-fi shoot 'em up. It's you can go as deep as you want to go. It's just that I had to go deeper than most.
Definitely. Well, and also, if it's too complicated for someone, just go watch X on the Beach.
Yeah, there's plenty of fluff there if you want it.
Well, hey, Jamie, I think we're going to wrap it here, and that's I've taken up enough of your time.
No, buddy, thank you very much. It's been lovely talking to you.
Okay, that's your episode. I'm off to go and try to heal this back. I'll probably be back next week with another injury and another episode. It's Hughezy. Bye-bye.